Hi guys, we are on day 3. We are on Deuteronomy 3. It's pretty much a continuance of God's deliverance of the kingdoms into the hands of the Israelites. Right now we have 2 major kingdoms that have been completely handed over to the Israelites. The land that they took over, they've now divided amongst the tribes. And now they're ready to get prepared to go across the Jordan to the real promised land. So what's going to happen here is Moses tells them, the Lord your God has given you this land to take over, to take possession of it, but all your men armed for battle must cross over ahead to the other Israelites. So they're going to go across to the Jordan. The wives, the children, the livestock are to remain behind until the Lord gives the rest with the rest of the fellow Israelites. Once you have taken over the land that the Lord has given you, giving it across to the Jordan, then they're going to come back and get the wives and the livestock and all of that. So at the time, Moses commands Joshua, because Joshua is going to lead them across, right? Because God's told Moses that Joshua is going to lead him across and Moses can't go. So Moses says to Joshua, you have seen with your own eyes all that the Lord your God has done to these 2 kings. So taking over the kingdoms, God's taken them over. The Lord will do the same for you and all the kingdoms over there where you are going. So he's telling him, God's already done this. He's going to do it again. So don't be afraid. He said, the Lord your God himself will fight for you. So Joshua has to trust that God's going to come through, just like he did on taking over the other kingdoms, that when they get across to the promised land, they're going to have to take those kingdoms over too. It's not like just like, oh, here's some land. Like, it's actual kingdoms that they're going to be taking over, which have been promised to the Israelites. So Moses, this is it, Moses. So Moses goes ahead and pleads with the Lord. Listen how he starts off. A little sucking up first. It's kind of interesting to listen to. So he starts off with, O sovereign Lord, you have begun to show your servant your greatness and your strong hand. For what God is there in heaven or on earth who can do these deeds and mighty works that you do? So he's acknowledging God's greatness, which is awesome. You know, God is great. But then he turns to him and he says, let me go over and see the good land beyond the Jordan. Uh-oh. He says, that fine hill country in Lebanon. Uh-oh. Kind of thinking Moses is getting himself into a whole heap of trouble right now. God has already told him the plan, told him what's going to happen. Joshua's going to go, you're not. And Moses throws in that last-ditch effort. Oh, God, you're so awesome. Why don't you just let me go too? Yeah. Don't we do that sometimes where God says there and he says, hey, this is the plan. This person's going to go ahead. I'm going to leave you here. This is what's going to happen. And then we're like, oh, but I want to go, God. And it's like, yeah, no, the plan is the plan is the plan. And God's sticking to the plan. And Moses, is now finding out God's going to stick to the plan. Moses blames the Israelites and tells them it is their fault, that God is angry with him and that God won't listen to him. So the Lord says, this is what God says to Moses, that is enough. I think God's a little mad here. He says, do not speak to me anymore about this matter. He's done. God's like, no, I've already told you you're not going. Don't speak to me about this anymore. We're done. Okay? And he tells him to go up to the top of Pisgah. It's like Pisgah. I don't know how to pronounce it. And he says, and go up to the top of that. Look west, look north, look south, and look east. And he tells him to look at the land with his own eyes. So he goes up to the top and he can see the promised land. He can see across Jordan. He can see the land that God has promised these people. But he can only see it with his eyes. He's not going. Okay? So God tells Moses to commission Joshua and encourage and strengthen him, for he will lead the people and will cause them to inherit the land that you will see. So he says, Moses, you will see it. But Joshua will lead the people and cause them to inherit the land. So that is Deuteronomy 3. Our lesson has a lot to do with when God has a plan, he's not going to change it, even at the last moment when Moses tried to convince God to change his mind. So that is Deuteronomy 3. Go ahead and pick your favorite verse out of the chapter, and let's go ahead and highlight it. Let's explain it. Let's apply it and respond in prayer on how we can ask God to use us or to use that verse in our lives. All right. Thanks, guys.